week, the headlines hit closest to home. While tracking the Texas governor's controversial move targeting a Muslim civil rights group, the deadline-driven release of the Epstein file, and the frightening new front line in the war in Ukraine, children as weapons. This is the Global News Update on Top Accolade News. For headlines, Texas governor labels CAIR a terrorist organization. Trump orders release of Epstein files. Samoa Prime Minister accused of suppressing media. China warns Japan over Taiwan comments. Starts in Texas, where the governor has ignited a political firestorm. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has declared the Council on American Islamic Relations and the Muslim Brotherhood foreign terrorists and transnational criminal organizations, a move that contradicts federal designation and immediately drew sharp rebuke from CAIR, which called the action legally baseless and anti-Muslim hysteria. Abbott said the proclamation will help Texas block the groups from operating and acquiring land, referencing a new state law targeting foreign adversaries, while Muslim community leaders rejected the allegation as dangerous misinformation after a federal civil rights probe into a Dallas-area Muslim-centered development closed with no charges. In a state where politics often run hot, this declaration may ignite a fire far bigger than Abbott's intents. From one political bombshell to another, the veil of secrecy surrounding Jeffrey Epstein is finally thinning. U.S. President Donald Trump has signed legislation requiring the Justice Department to release key investigative files on Jeffrey Epstein within 30 days, reversing his earlier opposition, as Congress passed the measure 427-1 in the House and unanimously in the Senate. The files include interviews, DOJ communications, flight logs, and materials seized in the raid, though portions may still be withheld to protect privacy and active probes. Trump framed the release as exposing Democrats despite documents already showing Epstein once claimed he could take him down, while victims' families hailed the move as monumental, and lawmakers warned against using new investigations to delay disclosure. In Washington's collision of secrets and politics, the truth has a deadline and nowhere left to hide. The issue of government transparency continues far across the Pacific. Samoa's Prime Minister has barred the Samoa Observer, the country's only daily newspaper, from attending press briefings citing inaccurate reporting during his 8-week medical stay in New Zealand and alleged trespassing by staff. The move follows the removal of a journalist from a weekly press conference and has drawn condemnation from opposition leaders and media groups who warn the ban undermines press freedom, accountability, and democratic transparency. When scrutiny is silenced, democracy itself begins to wither in plain sight. The ripples of political tensions are now hitting global markets. China has accused Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi of fundamentally undermining bilateral relations and severely damaging economic and trade cooperation after she suggested Tokyo could respond militarily to a hypothetical Chinese attack on Taiwan. Beijing warned Japan of consequences if the comments are not retracted, raising fears of renewed import restriction on Japanese goods, including seafood, while the U.S. reaffirmed its support for Japan. As diplomacy collides with commerce, the delicate web of trade and security between Asia's giants hangs by a thread. You're watching the Global News Update on Top Accolade News. Do stay with us. Still to come. Thanks for staying with us. Now to a terrifying development on the front line in Ukraine. Ukrainian authorities said that more than 800 citizens, including at least 240 minors, have been recruited online by Russian handlers to carry out sabotage attacks, as illustrated by the case of a 17-year-old who traveled across the country to plant a bomb before being intercepted by the SBU and now faces up to 12 years in prison. Official sites, Telegram, TikTok, and gaming platform as key recruitment hubs, offering cash for arson and bombings while security services report children as young as 9 being targeted and some teen recruits killed by their own devices. In a war fought both on the battlefield and on smartphones, the most devastating weapon may be a child who never understood the price. Turning from war to crime on the streets of Mexico. Mexican authorities have arrested the person suspected of orchestrating the November 1st assassination of Carlos Manzo, an opposition mayor who was shot during a Day of the Dead celebration after criticizing federal inaction against organized crime. The detainee is linked to a criminal group associated with the Jalisco New Generation cartel. An authority said cell phone analysis helped uncover a messaging group used to coordinate the attack, while over 10,500 security personnel have been deployed. In a country where violence silences voices, every arrest is a fragile step towards justice. And the nation searches for accountability following a preventable tragedy. 35 people and 3 institutions have gone on trial in North Macedonia over the March blaze at the club halls in Koukania, where pyrotechnics ignited a flammable ceiling in an overcrowded building with blocked exits, killing 63 people, mostly young concert goers, and injuring about 200 more. Prosecutors say years of unlawful licensing, absent inspection, and ignored safety risks turned the club into a death trap, while victims' families continue to demand accountability through nationwide protest. A tragedy born of negligence now tests whether a nation can finally confront the cost of looking away. Finally, a moment of triumph on the global stage. PSG's Moroccan right back, Achraf Hakimi, has been named African Footballer of the Year at the 2025 CAF Awards in Rabat, becoming the first defender since 1973 and the first Moroccan winner since 1998, ahead of Mohamed Salah and Victor Osimhen. Hakimi was honored for a trophy-laden 2025 season, while Morocco also claimed Women's Footballer of the Year and Goalkeeper of the Year honors. Hakimi's triumph proved that defenders can shine just as brightly as the game's goal scorer. From the fight for press freedom to the fight for accountability, the stories this week remind us that the greatest test of our institution is how they respond when the truth comes knocking. We'll keep tracking the stories that matters the most. I'm Ojo Romeo Kocha, and this is the Global News Update on Top Accolade News.